Hello. In this video, I am going to talk about data tables. So we are going to utilize the Excel spreadsheet that I prepared to understand data tables. Now, the first example that we have is what is the future value of $100 in 10 years? And the interest rate is 15%. So as you can see, what I did is I put the interest rate as 15%. Initial deposit is $100. And the years is equal to 10 years. So if I want to calculate the future value, what I will do is I will use Excel's future value function, and then I am going to utilize the cell numbers. So the first one is the rate is 15%. Then the next one is number of periods, when in this case we have 10 years. So I'm going to enter the cell for that, which is for my example is B5, comma, there are no payments, so I can leave that blank or I can enter a zero in there. And then I'm going to place a second comma in there, and then negative the initial value, which is $100, close parentheses, and then I have the value of $400 for $404.56. So that is fairly straightforward, and at this point you all know how to calculate that. But what if I want to do sensitivity analyses and I would like to find out what the future value of that initial deposit, $100, is going to be in 10 years, but I'd like to change the interest rate from 0 to 60%, and I like to do that in 10% increments. So I have already prepared my table. So I'm going to use that area and I'm going to enter 0% in the cell, in which in my case it's cell number A11. And then I want to increase that by 10%. So I'll do that in there as well. And then I'm going to highlight those two cells. I am going to bring my cursor to the edge and then copy that down until I have the interest rate changing from 0 to 60% in 10% increments. Now, I am going to create this table using the data table function of Excel. So what I will do is I will include that future value calculation that I have computed already, and I'm going to place that in cell B10 right above the table that I am creating. Then I'm going to highlight the whole table, and then I will go into insert, and I will find, actually not insert, but I will go to data, and then I will go to what if analyses. So data, what if analyses, and then I will pick data table. And then when I do that, I get a data table box, and then I don't have anything in the rows, but I do have interest rate that's changing from 0 to 60% in the increments of 10%. So in the column input, I am going to put B3, which was my initial interest rate of 15%. And then I'm going to say, okay. And then as you can see, Excel computed based on the calculation that I placed in cell B10. It computed all those future value amounts for me, and it changed the interest rate from 0% to 60%. Now, I could also format the digits after the decimal point. So if I want like 4 digits after the decimal point, I could use these icons up here. Or then, if I only want 2 digits after the decimal point, I could reduce that, or I could even bring it down to 1 digit. Now, I like to show it to you that we could also do the same thing using the future value calculations. And if we do that, what we will do is we will use our future value calculation, and the rate is 0% for the first one. The number of years is equal to 10. There is no payment, so we're going to leave that blank. And then the initial deposit is $100. As you can see, that is also $100. Now, what I could do in here is I could make sure that initial deposit stays at $100. So I put dollar signs before and after the letter B. And then I also want to keep the number of years constant at 10 years. So I will do the same thing there. And then I can copy my formula down, and you will see that I will get the same results in both of those columns. So that means you have two ways to calculate. You could either use data table function, or you could use the future value calculations. Now we have another part where it is asking us to make the changes from 0% to 30%, but this time we are going to make those changes in 5% increments. So let's do that, and you can see that I am pretty much doing the same thing, and I will set the cell to that future value calculation from cell B6, and then I will highlight the whole thing. I will go to data, what if analyses, data table, and in the column input cell, I will put the interest rate that was initial interest rate in cell B3, and I will say okay, and then all that will be calculated for me. Now, what I could also do is I could do this in a row format instead of column format. So let's see how that's going to work. And let's do that in 5% increments from 0% to 30%. And then what I will do is I will place that future value calculation in this cell. And then I'm going to highlight everything again. And now it's going to be slightly different. Again, I'm going to pick data, what if analyses, data table. And now the input cell will be in the rows, and I'm going to put that B3 in row input cell and click OK. And then you can see that now my information is in a row style than column style, but I computed the same future value numbers, changing from 0% to 30%, and this was for $100. Now let's take this to another level And let's find out if we change not only the interest rate, but what if we also change the initial deposit? Like, we kept the initial deposit at $100, but now what we want to do is we want to change the initial deposit from 50 to 300, and we want to see these changes in the form of $50 increments. So that's what I will do. I will first set my column where my initial deposit is going to change from $50 to $300, and then I'm going to change the interest rate from 0 to 25% in 5% increments. And I am going to copy that down. So it's going to change from 0 to 25%. And then in this cell in between the interest rate and initial deposit, I am going to put the formula that I originally calculated for future value, which is in cell B6. And let me set that equal to B6. And then I'm going to highlight that whole table. And then again, I will go to data, what if analysis, data table. And now I have to tell Excel that my input cells are the interest rate that is changing from 0% to 25%. And my column input is the initial deposit, which is in cell B4. And then I'm going to say, okay. And you can see that Excel is going to generate that table for me. Now, again, if I want to have a clean look and get rid of the digits after the decimal point, I can go to home and I can use these icons up here and get rid of the decimal points so my table looks in a clean format. But if you want digits, 2 digits or 4 digits or 5 digits, you can change the formatting and make sure that it is all in the same format so it's presentable when you complete your table. So what you have is this Excel workbook. The first sheet is the template for you to work on, and the second sheet is the solution or the complete table. So when you practice in the first sheet, you can click on the second one and make sure that you have computed the exact same numbers as we have in here so that you can practice and feel confident about data tables. See you soon.